enough time for the speakers. And very officially, some of you know me. I'm Monica Curia and I work for Sigma. And good morning, everyone. So it is a pleasure to welcome you today on this online seminar on administrative supervision for local governments in the Western Balkans, with a specific focus on good practices and lessons from Europe. And just a little bit of a background, we've been working on a paper at Sigma on administrative supervision of local governments in the Western Balkans for the past year, working with local experts, working with national administrations, and of course with our experts and expertise, to dig a little bit deeper into administrative supervision, excluding the financial and fiscal part, to understand a little bit better how it works in practice. And that is also due to the fact that we did an assessment 2 years ago of multi-level governance. And we found out that very generally that administrative supervision in the countries is more or less at place when it comes to legislation. But the real challenge is really not the legal design, but more the implementation. So we decided that we would go a little bit deeper into this topic, understand better, and also come with a few examples on how to reform it, how to maybe enhance these administrative supervisory systems. Because as we know that this is a cornerstone of multi-level governance. It ensures that local authorities act in accordance with the law, they deliver services effectively, but very importantly, they remain accountable to citizens. And of course, another aspect is also to safeguard the principle of local autonomy. And so today, in this seminar, the objective is more or less twofold. One is to reflect on key principles that should guide supervision: legality, proportionality, respect for local autonomy. And the second one is to see how these principles are translated into practice, both in the Western Balkan administrations, which we assessed, and also looking into examples from EU and OECD countries. And we will hear today about concrete models and experiences from Lithuania, Slovakia, and Sweden, which demonstrate how supervision can maybe move beyond control and become a tool more for prevention and guidance. But very importantly, we also have the representative of the Council of Europe here, who is the safeguard or the establisher, creator of the only international standard framework of the European Charter for Local Self-Government. And we will also look into how this charter has been at place for many years now. How can it be translated into practice? Maybe a key message from our draft paper yet is that by supervision, supervision doesn't really depend on strong coercive powers, but instead it relies on clear rules, gradual and proportionate intervention, and very strong coordination between the state administration as well as local governments. So today, I hope that today's exchange will provide not only insights, but also some practical inspiration for the ongoing reforms. Also, we have representatives from each administration here from the Western Balkans. I also shared the draft paper in parts which concern your countries. So please feel free to add your part to the discussion, to ask or also to provide any comment. We will be happy to hear that. We will go according to the program. In the end, there is some place left for discussion, but please feel free to also ask the speakers if you have any question regarding their part. So thank you very much. I look very much forward to the discussion. And our first speaker is Daniel Popescu, the head of let me just check, Promoting Local Democracy Department and at the Council of Europe. And Daniel, please, if you could maybe give us a short introduction into the guiding principles of administrative supervision based on the European Charter. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. I think you said all the right words about the importance of supervision, administrative supervision, because indeed we make the difference between three types of supervision, and indeed how fundamental it is for local self-government, because in the end, supervision is very opposite of autonomy, if you wish. And the two have to be balanced together. Why actually do we need supervision? I mean, in an ideal world, I guess we would not need any administrative supervision because citizens would be fully informed about everything which the local authorities are doing, and they would have the capacity to act on it. So they would have agency. In our imperfect world, however, citizens do not have full information. The administrative activity has become more and more complex technically, legally. And indeed, one of the issues is also the fact that local media has all but disappeared, but this is another discussion. Now, in some countries, citizens do have the capacity to actually challenge administrative acts in courts just because they are taxpayers. But in most European countries, they have to show that they have a strong personal interest to do so. So indeed, you referred to the Charter. Charter is indeed fundamental, and its Article 8 is probably one of the most important and sensitive. And it establishes three different, let's call them principles. The first one is the principle of legality. So the first paragraph of Article 8 speaks about the fact that the supervision should be based in law, which means that there should be clear legal provisions about who does the supervision. Not everyone can improvise him or herself or supervisor. That the type of acts or activities which are supervised are also provided for in legislation. And indeed, the methodology, the type of supervision is also provided for. Now, this article speaks about supervision of activity. I honestly would have preferred to, if the Charter spoke about supervision of acts, of administrative acts, meaning decisions which have legal implications. But as such, we are now speaking about supervision of activity, even though this may sometimes open the door to excessive supervision. Now, the second, indeed, the second principle, and I call it functional autonomy, is that the supervision should basically only concern legality of decisions, of activities. Okay, let's call it activities, even though I prefer to call it otherwise, for own competencies, and it can concern the expediency of decisions for delegated competencies. And this is a fundamental difference in the Charter. It's so fundamental that I would even define the types of competencies by the type of supervision they can be submitted to. So own competencies, which are usually given to local authorities by law, are to be supervised only in respect of their compliance with legislation, while those where the local authorities acts as an agent for another authority can be submitted with other types of supervision. So one is legal versus illegal. The other type of supervision is, let's say, good versus bad. It is not 100% like this. The Charter says that own competencies should be normally only submitted to legal supervision. And indeed, in some countries, there are some exceptions. Just as an example, when we worked on the draft law in Ukraine, it was also provided for that supervision of expediency can be performed over decisions which can represent threats to national security or territorial integrity. It's a country at war, so of course such exceptions can be accepted. But as a principle, this should not happen for other types of decisions. The third principle is that indeed that you already mentioned of proportionality. So let's say, amount of intervention should be kept in proportion to the interest it is supposed to preserve. And of course, interests here are the interests of the citizens, their rights, and the quality of governance, and indeed the fact that public resources should be used properly. Now, what does this mean, indeed, kept in proportion? It sounds very vague. We have, beyond the charter, a recommendation of the Committee of Ministers, which is, I think, quite important. It's recommendation 3 of 2019, and this it explains a number of things. For example, it says clearly that in principle, supervision should be ex post, not ex ante, or a posteriori, not a priori, whatever you want to call it. So there should normally not be a necessity for local authorities to ask for permission to take a decision or to conduct an activity, but rather such events should be examined after the fact. This is important. It's important especially for legality supervision, because when you have to ask for permission to do something, it's a completely different kind of animal. The supervision becomes a different kind of animal than if you just have to inform the supervisory authority about the decision which you have taken, and then the supervisory authority will take or not some actions. Also, the recommendation clearly states that not all activities or acts should be systematically and compulsorily supervised. There should be a, let's say, correlation between how important a decision is. For example, adoption of budget is very important. Naming a street is probably less important. So those acts which have a certain importance and whose effects could be difficult to change can be, if you wish, supervised systematically, while all the others should be just, sometimes more randomly supervised. Now, this is about basically the charter. Now, in the recommendation, there is also a, let's say, a suggestion, a guideline. Actually, it's a recommendation. It's in the body of the recommendation itself, not in the appendix, that it is preferred to have a single spine supervisory system. What does this mean? In Europe, and here you'll be speaking about Western Balkans, but in Europe, there are several types of supervision. The most common one is inspired from the French experience, is the institution of a prefect. So at a higher level, territorial level, let's say regional, county level, there is a representative of the government who does basically two things. One is to coordinate the services which have been, we call it deconcentrated, so state services, government services which exist in the territory. And the second one is to perform this kind of supervision, legality supervision mainly. Now, it's very important to understand, because in all the countries we worked with, the initial, let's say, reflex was to consider that the main task is that of supervision. It's not. Even in France, which is not a very decentralized country from many points of view, let's say I actually worked in a prefecture, so the staff dedicated to legality supervision of a local authority represents something like 2-3% of the total staff of the prefecture. So it's the main task is not that. The supervision should not be done excessively. Now, this is one of the systems, a system where there is a single authority which supervises all the activity or all the acts of all local authorities on a certain territory. There can be other systems. There can be a system where each, let's say, ministry has a supervisory role for the activities performed in the respective area of competence. We don't prefer that such system because it becomes complex, it's not very specialized, and typically ministries are not that apt at taking into account specificities of local authorities. Another system is in the UK, where you have some sort of embedded staff member who is appointed by the council, but according to the legislation, in certain cases, that officer is obliged to report anything which comes at odds with the legal provisions. So we do prefer this system where there is a single supervisor, things are clear, there is a relation between local and central authorities. The supervisory authorities also can offer advising, counseling to local authorities upon request, and this is also in the recommendation itself. Now, what can such supervision do? I mean, there are several systems. Some are more, let's say, tough, less respectful of local autonomy. For example, when the supervisory authority can simply annul or cancel a decision, this is usually, well, we call it the Polish model. It's a very strong intervention into decision-making process, even though, and according to Article 11 of the Charter, afterwards the local authorities can go to court to challenge the decision. It is the most, probably the most widespread system in Europe is one where the supervisory authority will send the challenge decision of local authority to the court. And at the same time, this will, or it can be a different decision, suspend the decision until the court has ruled over the legality of such decision. And in other systems, the government representative, who is the supervisory authority, can neither suspend nor cancel or annul the decision, but just ask the court to rule in a speedy procedure and possibly to suspend it itself if indeed there is a risk that the implementation of the decision could lead to results which are difficult, which are irreversible or very difficult to compensate. Now, just maybe, do I have a couple more minutes? So I'm not going to speak about the other types of supervision, which are indeed financial supervision, but also democratic supervision, which is a very, very important topic, actually. But maybe what is happening when a local authority repeatedly or voluntarily break the law? Now, there are, of course, different systems of dealing with this, but typically it is recommended, we have a different recommendation on that, that dismissing a mayor or a council should be a very, very, very exceptional situation, and such decision can only be taken with a number of guarantees, and only when the institutional functioning of the local government is compromised, such as, for example, when the council can't doesn't meet, or they can't adopt a budget, or indeed the mayor is an impossibility to actually exercise her duties. Now, and of course, just I will end up here because my minutes are running out. There should always be a right of recourse of local authorities against decisions by the supervisory authority. This is a very important principle. Again, it's Article 11 of the Charter. It's something which basically all countries, all the 46 member states of the Council of Europe who have ratified the Charter have accepted. And by the way, the Charter is one of, I think, only 12, I think, out of something like 250 conventions of the Council of Europe, which has been ratified by all member states, all 46. So to a certain extent, this is also a symbol of the fact that local self-government, local autonomy have become, if you wish, shared European values. I will stop here, but of course, happy to take questions. I hope I did it right in the right time, 15 minutes that you gave me.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Yes, it was very good, and thank you for this insight, and you just kind of initiated a few topics on which we could discuss for a longer time, from proportionality to excessive control. And I have a few questions on mine, but I will keep that to the end. I don't want to interrupt the time limit for other speakers. Please, if you have any questions to Daniel, you can ask now or later as well. Just raise your hand. So I can see it. And maybe due to the timeliness, I also worked on this recommendation when the Council of Europe was preparing it, and I know it was very difficult, these different systems in the countries for administrative supervision, but we did find a common language on this. And just notice what is interesting to me is that, and I think it's because of this changing environment, economical, social, and so on. One of the questions is now not really this excessive control by the state, but exactly whether the state interferes enough sometimes with local government affairs. And we have some cases also in the Western Balkans when maybe some of the local government failed or didn't act as they should have, and the state didn't interrupt, because a lot of times there is a sentence that we don't interfere with local government affairs. So I think this topic is extremely important, how you place it, that local governments are independent and they have their autonomy, but on the other hand, there is some kind of control, at least in certain affairs, from the state. And there is a very, very fine line between that. But it comes out also from the culture of the countries and history and so on. But you mentioned all these very important topics, and now I would pass the floor to Nikos, Nikolaos Chapas, who's been working with me on this paper, and he knows very much the charter and also some of the European cases. So just a short presentation. The paper is longer, but we will publish it very soon. And just a few lines on what the paper includes, what are maybe some of the findings and conclusions. And Nikos, just a question. Should I share your presentation or you will share it yourself? Nikos, microphone.
Sorry, I will try to share it myself.
Okay.
Good morning to everyone. You must enable participant screen sharing. It is disabled.
Let me just enable.
I make you co-host, now you can share.
Thank you.
Okay, that's great. Okay.
Perfect, we can see it.
Okay, okay, you can see it. So this should be a short presentation of the paper we have prepared. And I must really thank Daniel for his very nice introduction. He really paved the ground for me to go ahead. Well, I will start. The title of the paper is Challenges and Opportunities for Supervision. And I will start with some challenges. First of all, of course, supervision today is a key element of multi-level governance. It's also a way of coordination. But we'll start with the so-called decentralization paradox. What happened in Eastern Europe in the previous years, and of course now is happening also in the Western Balkans, is that we have waves of decentralization. And the decentralization paradox is that when additional power and resources are transferred to local authorities, then there is a stronger demand for oversight, but without overriding local autonomy. Supervision has been made to safeguard the rule of law and also promote efficient service delivery. And there is a differentiation principle. Daniel already referred to this, which is the differentiation of the intensity of supervision alongside the nature of tasks. This means also, according to the European Charter of Local Self-Government, that only legality should be checked for own tasks, while expediency can also be checked when it is about delegate tasks, the so-called shared zone. And of course, a very important principle for the organization, but also for the exercise of supervision, is the proportionality principle. The supervision should not violate the core of the autonomy and should go only as far as necessary, which means that supervision should start with less intrusive measures before it proceeds to more intrusive measures. So in a way, it should proceed step by step. And this gave the main input for developing a very important idea in this paper, which is the graduate legality supervision. Of course, we talk about ex post supervision because ex ante supervision is something different. You see here the different stages of this supervision ladder. First, the preventive guidance. Main purpose is to prevent illegality before it occurs. How can you do this? With consultations, with clarification of legal requirements, and with ex ante recommendations. Prevention is better than sanction. And of course, a very big part of irregularities, illegalities are not done in purpose. The reason why they happen is because there is a lack of capacity. This is particularly important in smaller municipalities, where, of course, you cannot always expect that there is a well-trained legal personnel in place, and so on and so on. So the first step, which is the less intrusive one, of course, according to the principle of proportionality, is to start with preventive guidance. Then, if it does occur that we have an illegality, there should be a formal notice to signal that there is a legal risk, but to signal this in a transparent way, not to do it suddenly in a way that the local authority has not expected that the action has been considered as illegal by the supervision authority. And then, of course, proceed to the next step, which is the request for correction. And this should be done in order to enable voluntary compliance. The supervision authority should give a bit of space to the local authority to consider again this action, and having also some guidance on how to correct the legal mistakes that were done, to do it within a reasonable deadline. Then, if voluntary compliance does not occur, and if the local authority is insisting that the action is legal, or for some other reasons they want to stick to this choice that they have made, then there is a possibility of judicial referral. Of course, in some exceptional cases today, as Daniel already mentioned, there are some systems where the supervisory authority has the power of annulation, to annulate or to suspend this act, which is considered to be illegal. And finally, the exceptional intervention, which is apart from this temporary suspension, then to have some strict limits or to impose some sanctions. This is the hardest part of the most intrusive one of the supervision ladder, and this is the reason that here you see that it is the last one, and it's also marked with red. So in order to check the different systems, we have been using a common analytical lens, which was including some questions. First, whether supervisory bodies are well coordinated and how. In most of the countries, we do not have only one authority exercising supervision. We have several authorities. And then, of course, there is the risk of not only of double supervision, of parallel supervisions and parallel procedures doing nearly the same things, but also of contradictory decisions. There are cases where one supervisory authority decides that something is legal and another one decides that it is not legal or it is not correct. This can happen sometimes also concerning the relation between the legal supervision and the fiscal audit. Sometimes acts who have been considered legal, they are considered to be non-correct when an auditing is made, a financial auditing by another authority. Of course, it has to be asked whether the supervised authorities have sufficient capacity. We have already mentioned that. And of course, there must be a differentiation between own responsibilities and delegated responsibilities. And of course, we have to ask whether this intervention is proportionate and staged. Another point is whether local authorities receive systematic guidance. Another aspect is if monitoring and supervision is supported by reporting, information exchange, sampling, or risk-based review. In this way, a lot of conflicts can be avoided. And of course, the findings, the decisions, and the interpretative guidance have to be transparent. It has to be transparent why the supervisory authority has decided that something is legal or something is illegal. And then, of course, the local authorities, as already has been pointed out by Daniel, also according to Article 11 of the Charter, enjoy timely and effective judicial protection. We have examined first some European examples. I will very shortly present 3 of them. We had 5 cases. We focused on 5 cases of European countries. 2 of them will be presented in special presentations today, and Lithuania and Slovakia. So we will only present 3 cases. What were the key takeaways from these European examples? First, that supervision should be legality focused. Then that proportionality should be implemented through stage escalation. Then that a way should be found to reduce political influence through independent review and predictability, clear roles, transparency, and so on. And then also local autonomy should be respected by limiting administrative burden and improving coordination. sharing of data can help this. Sometimes municipalities carry a very heavy burden because there is a lot of reporting. They have to forward many of their decisions to the authorities and so on. Here we see the image of the supervision in different Balkan countries. I will, sorry. It seems that I am missing some, sorry, but I'm missing some, maybe, maybe Monica, you want to share this, but because for some strange reason, when I share this, some of the I'm missing some parts of the presentation.
Let me just
Or
check.
maybe,
I just opened it. I have 10 slides. You want the country slide, yes?
yes, I stop sharing.
You can stop sharing and I will share it for you.
Sorry.
This one?
Yes. You see, it is different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So the three European examples are Estonia, France, and Netherlands. It's interesting because there are different cases. For example, in France, we still have the old monocentric territorial state representative model. Actually, the French are the ones who invented supervision. But they have shifted towards preventive supervision. Estonia has a polycentric system with different actors, also focusing on preventive and cooperative style. And even though it is fragmented, because of good cooperation and of good guidance, there is a very small percentage of cases who escalate to court challenges. Netherlands is a very important and very interesting case because there has been a reform of the supervision system some years ago through the generic supervision revitalization act. And there is now a staged, proportionate, cooperative system of supervision style, which is makes extensive use of reports of shared data platforms and of public benchmark. In this way, there is a very close cooperation with the local authorities. And I will call this new model of Netherlands. Netherlands is a unitary country, as you know, also concerning the size is interesting for Western Balkan countries, at least concerning the area. It is based on trust and information sharing and making extensive use of modern technology. Maybe we can proceed. We see the key takeaways. We talked about this. Maybe you can proceed a bit more. Yeah, this is the supervision ladder. You see that there are differences between the countries. We have some highly interventional cases. We have other cases which are more balanced. Maybe we can proceed. Yes, we have also talked about this. Proceed.
This is the end for me.
Okay, but there are also the Balkan countries somewhere. Maybe number 7.
Okay,
Yes.
interesting, because if I...
Yes, for some reason, I also had the same problem that it
Okay.
was going, yes, some slides were not shown. So we see here the different countries. I will proceed now with, you know, their characteristics, their institutional setup. You can give it, you can see it there. There, I will focus now on the core reform issues for every country. For Albania, it is rather to strengthen proportionality and and build a clear bridge from the observation to correction before litigation. There are these stages in Albania, but there should be a clear bridge between them. Then in Bosnia-Herzegovina, the main problem is weak coordination and limited capacity. So this should be addressed. In Kosovo, there is a need for stronger transparency, data, and standardized learning tools. So transparency, guidance, and consistency should be improved. And now maybe the next slide.
Okay.
Montenegro. In Montenegro, we have limited data sharing and problems with unpublished reporting. So implementation should be improved before relying on strong measures, because also strong measures are provided in the legislation, which is under revision as far as I know. Then in North Macedonia, there is again a problem of limited data sharing and unpublished reporting. So again, also in this country, implementation should be improved before relying on strong measures. And then we have Serbia, where because also strong measures are provided in the law, tighter proportionality safeguards should be introduced. And this means that the whole model should move from a corrective interventionist style to a staged, more preventive supervision. Maybe you can go to the final takeaways, Monica. And yes. Okay, the good practice benchmarks is could include a strong legal basis. Coordination is very important, a high quality of coordination. I think both Estonia and the Netherlands have demonstrated how important it is and how the quality of supervision and the efficiency of supervision can be improved through coordination. Improve, of course, procedural quality. Have a clear distinction between own and delegated competences. Sometimes it's not clear which competences are own and which are delegated. Have dialogue-based correction mechanisms, graduate and proportion supervision, and of course, a court-centered legality control. Courts should have the main role for concerning annulment and even sanctions in order to improve the acceptance of these measures. So thank you very much. So sorry for the problems concerning the presentation. It was
Thank you, Nikos. No, it happens.
There was
a
right. Technical problem for some reason.
Yes, thank you very much, Nikos, also for being on time. And it is this is just really a summary of the paper. There is, I think, a lot of interesting facts and information which we gathered from the administrations, and many of you are here who helped us correct or review or provide the information. So we would be very happy if you have anything to say or add to this, and of course maybe what haven't been mentioned much here is I think that there are some very good examples as well in some of the administrations in data collection or in how they actually carry out the supervision. What you see is here is the it's kind of the fragmentation of this supervision process. Some of or most of it having maybe less focus on this prevention, coordination, and communication with local governments, and then acting once the problem or illegality already has happened. And as I think Daniel mentioned and Nikos mentioned, it is important to work with the local governments in advance and try to focus on more this prevention explanation due to the staff shortages, but also due to maybe the complexity of what local governments do when it comes to responsibilities and competencies. And that's why some of the European countries which we have here as examples put a lot of focus on this prevention and more on kind of guiding and training and maybe explaining before they actually put out a warning or before they act against local government decisions. So I think this is a key message for all the Western Balkan administrations. And we can see we work with many of them that there are some improvements. Some of them are trying to maybe reform or enhance the system. So we will hope it will go into this right direction. And of course, and as I mentioned, this paper will be ready and published hopefully very, very soon, and we will share it with you. And now I would like to ask our next speaker, who is Eva, to present us the Lithuanian case of administrative supervision, which hasn't been much mentioned here yet, but I think it's a very interesting case. And Eva, thank you very much for joining us for this seminar. Please let me know if I should share your presentation. I have it ready.
Yeah, I would like to share my presentation if it's possible.
Yes, of course, please feel free.
Okay, let's wait a bit. Okay. So can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay, so good morning to everyone. And at first, I would like to thank you for invitation to attend the seminar and to share Lithuanian experience on administrative supervision of Lithuanian municipalities. And I represent the Association of Local Authorities in Lithuania. It is a non-profit and non-governmental organization representing the common interest of its members, Lithuanian municipalities in all national institutions and international organizations. And all Lithuanian municipalities are members of our organization. So today my presentation will provide a brief overview on how municipalities are organized in Lithuania, what institutions are involved, and how the supervision system works in practice. And before to start my presentation, it's important to mention that Lithuania considers local self-government an important constitutional value, and therefore our supervision system is designed not to interfere with political decision making, but to ensure legality, transparency, and accountability. And today's my presentation is divided into 5 parts. And at first, I briefly introduce the Lithuanian local self-government system. Later, I will explain briefly the legal and institutional framework of supervision. And then I will describe how supervision works in practice. Also, I will present the most common areas of supervision and available remedies. And in the end, I will share the conclusions. So let me start from local self-government system in Lithuania. In Lithuania, we have 2 governing levels. It means the national government and local authorities. In total, we have 60 municipalities and 10 regions, but our regions are only territorial units without any governing power. And in Lithuania, there are 60 municipalities, our municipalities is big. The biggest municipalities, Vilnius City, around 700 or 800,000 population, and the smallest one is near the Baltic Sea, small resort municipality with 3,000 population. So our local self-government is guaranteed by the Constitution and also protected by European Charter of Local Self-Government. The main institutions are, of course, municipal council representative institutions elected for 4 years, and also mayor, who also is directly elected for 4 years as well. And mayor is the main executive body in our system. He is responsible for municipalities' work and also chairs municipal council meetings. And also we have municipal administration, which is responsible for implementations of decisions and public service delivery. And next year, in the beginning of March, we will have municipal council and mayor's elections. So and usually during the elections, half of mayors changing. And our municipalities as well are responsible for a wide range of functions. We have 2 types of functions. It's independent functions like local infrastructure, environment, education, spatial planning, and etc. And also another type of function is functions delegated by the state. So if talk about our supervision system, at first, I would like to present the main legal act which regulate this area. Of course, it's a constitution of the Republic of Lithuania. A law on local self-government is the main legal act which defines all rights and functions of our municipalities. Also, the law on public administration, law on administrative proceedings, and different sectoral legislation and government resolutions. Our supervising system of municipality supervision is based on government representatives. This is the main institution responsible for municipalities' administrative supervision. In Lithuania, we have 5 government representatives. Each representative is responsible for 2 regions, and government representatives are appointed by Prime Minister for 5 years. And the main functions of them is supervision. It means that they monitor whether municipalities comply with the constitution and laws. Also, control of legal acts. They supervise whether municipal institutions properly and timely implement government decisions, and also response of violations. It means that if violation of law are identified, government representatives have right to issue request or recommendation to municipal mayor or administration with request to make corrections with this law. And a very important principle in our system is that supervision concerns only legality, no political considerations or policy choices. It's important, and it's very important for protect our local autonomy. Also, the important role in our supervision system play administrative court. It's independent judicial authority, and municipalities has right to challenge supervisory decisions before the court. Also, we have institutions called National Audit Office. This institution is responsible for public finance management. And in each municipality, we have municipal controllers, and they perform independent external audits at local level, and they assess legality, financial management, and efficient use of municipal resources. And of course, we have sectoral ministries also take part in supervisory system, and they supervise sometimes they supervise how municipalities implement these state delegated functions. So how supervision works in practice in Lithuania? They, of course, in practice, usually supervision begins from monitoring. Municipal decisions and legal acts are publicly available, and which allows systematic review and transparency. Supervision may be triggered by citizens' complaints, institutional audits, media reports, or maybe routine monitoring activities. And mainly government representatives, if they see that municipal decision contradicts the law, they contact municipality, mayor or council with request to make clarifications or corrections on voluntary basis. So first step in our system is cooperation and to find common solution between two parties. But sometimes we have situations when both sides cannot find agreement, and this agreement remains. Then government representatives have rights, or municipalities have rights to apply to the court. And then the final decision is taken by the administrative court. But it should be mentioned and noted that at first we will try to find common solution and to avoid to solve this disagreement in the court. The main areas of supervision and remedies in Lithuania, of course, there are spatial planning and land use. The municipalities play a key role in local development and land use decisions, because all areas related with money and finance. It's a public procurement because it's related with expensive investment and also EU money. Municipal budget also always under control and supervision, and many administrative procedures, public service provisions, and etc. But Lithuania generally follows, as I mentioned, a preventive rather than punitive approach. And methodological assistance, consultations, and recommendations are the priority. I would like to present several aspects of Lithuanian system. We think that our system is good and efficient. And I would like to share some good example. And first, in Lithuania, I would like to mention that is a clear distinction between legality control and political decision making. These supervisory institutions cannot replace municipal political choice with their own preference. And also, second, Lithuania has a strong judicial protection system through the independent administrative courts. Also, dialogue and prevention is the priority in our system. And fourth, digital transparency plays an increasing role in Lithuanian system because all municipal acts, council decisions, and other legal documents are publicly accessible online, and everyone can see them and read them and analyze them. And digital tools also support monitoring and risk analysis. And also Lithuania is gradually introducing more risk-based supervision approaches. And this helps focus limited supervision resources on higher risk areas instead of applying identical intensity everywhere. So to conclude my presentation, I would like to stress that Lithuanian model seeks to balance two important objectives: protection of local self-government, and accountability under the rule of law. And supervision is based strictly on legality and not on political control. And most disputes are solving through consultations and cooperations rather than sanctions or court interventions. Administrative court provide important safeguard for municipalities and help maintain institutional balance. And at the same time, it's increasing digitalization and risk-based approach, and both of them ensure the efficiency and transparency of our supervision. So this is brief presentation of Lithuanian case, and if you have questions, I'm available to give answers.
Thank you very much, Eva. I think it was very good to hear all these general facts about the supervision system. And of course, it would be very interesting to see how it practically also works, how many supervisions you carry out, and what is the interaction and the reception from local governments. So maybe we can talk about that later in the questions part. And now I would like to ask in the next speaker, Mr. Mishkanin from the Supreme Audit Office of the Slovak Republic, who is the Director General of the Audit Section. And do not be mistaken, we know that the state audit institutions usually focus on efficiency, effectiveness, financial checks, but Mr. Mishkanin is here to talk about a specific institution or specific supervision tool which Slovakia has used for many years over local governments. And you mentioned that local government or the local government system in Slovakia is very fragmented. It's very much like the French system. There are almost 3,000 local governments, which makes it even more difficult to carry out supervision in an efficient way. So let's see how it can be done, or whether it works, and what are the challenges of the supervisory system in Slovakia. Thank you very much.
Okay, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Marian Mishkanin. I'm working at the Super Audit Office in the Slovak Republic. In my previous jobs, I was working in the city of Bratislava at the position like the chief controller, and also I was working at the position like the head of mayor of office of the capital city of Bratislava, and also like the city manager in the one city part of the Bratislava. It was Petržalka. It has more than 130,000 inhabitants. So in my presentation, I would like to be more practical, and because all my professional life I involved in control, I would like to take a few words about the internal control and the regional and the local level. So I would like to talk about the chief of control at the municipality level and the region level. And also in my presentation, I would like to say also the results of our analysis, which we done in 2024. It was very big analysis because we put under control the whole cities. So we have the results about how the internal control at the local level running, and also we have two acts. One act is act of the municipal establishment, and the second act is of self-government region. First act, it was admitted in 1990s. So nowadays it is more than 36 years, and nowadays we see that we have to change the law, and especially we trying to change the law about the chief of the controllers at the local and regional level. So if we look at the Slovakia, and nowadays we have 8 regions, 141 cities, and 2,890 municipalities. Slovakia has approximately 5.5 million people. So nowadays we have in our society is the question if 8 regions is enough or if we need 8 regions. And also a lot of municipalities brings a lot of problems, and nowadays we have big problem because we have municipality where lives maybe 20, 30 people, no mayor, no chief controller, so these municipalities doesn't run, and we have to maybe dealing with the questions that we should cut off the number of the municipalities and maybe the number of region. But in Slovakia, we can say that we have 2 levels, so state level and the local level. And supervision at the local level is concentrated mainly on the position of the chief controller. At the local level, we have the similar like Lithuania, so we have the court, we have the sectoral ministries, prosecutors, and also the Slovak Audit Office, and also the Ministry of Finance, which keep an eye on mainly on the budget and the debt of the cities, and also the ministry which put the EU funds. So EU funds control mainly the ministries. So on the next slide, I would like to say a few words about the chief controller at the municipality and the chief controller at the self-governing region. It follows two rules, and their position is similar. At the chief controller of the municipality, I will explain their role, and on the next slide, at the chief controller of the self-governing region, I only point the differences. So if you look at the chief controller at the municipality, we have to say that he is elected and by the local level. He is providing the audit, mainly ex-post audit. There are some limitations in our law because he can't do some activities, so he can't be a member of the management, supervisor, or governing body of business, but he can do some activities like the scientific lecturing and so on. The chief controller is an employee of the local municipality. The function of the chief controller is incompatible with the councillor, mayor, member of the legal entity established by the municipality, as a municipality employee, and the function defined by special legislation. If you look at the education and the requirements for office, election, and determination, we have only a few requirements. So the minimum education level is complete secondary education. Nowadays, we discuss if it is enough or not. So it is the open, and also the system of the election is completely written in our law. So there are 40 days for the municipality to announce the election. The people could apply for this position, and the member of the local parliament are elect them. But sometimes it is difficult because there is a lot of people, and our law has the system how to the election should be providing. If in a first round, if no candidate is not elected, so has no then half more than half of the people in the parliament vote. So then there is a second round, and in the second round, the candidate with the highest number of valid votes wins. The term of office of the chief controller is for 6 years. And so, of course, this 6 years is according to law, but this term could be changed because of the some obstacles which was written on these slides, and sometimes he could be removed from the position if, for example, if he repeatedly or particularly goes neglected the duties, or he doesn't do nothing. So in such position, conditions, he could be removed from the position. The salary we have.
Sorry to interrupt you, Mishkin, because it's only my problem because I see only the first slides. I don't know how everyone just. Monica, can you see?
Pardon?
Yeah, everything.
Same thing. I've just sent a chat to Monica. So
Yes,
Yeah, so
I can also. I
Yes,
tried
I
to.
only see the
we're
first
stuck in the
slides.
first slides. We can see like that's why I don't know. Maybe Monica can share it.
Maybe I could share the slides, and I will click it for you. I thought it's only mine. Let me just. Okay, so
Yeah.
we are here, yes?
Something was wrong, yes. Yes, now we are at the slide number incompatibility function. The salary, the next slide. Next.
Qualifications, yes.
Next slide, please. Next, because we have at the slide number 9, the salary of the municipality. Yes. At this slide, I only want to show you that the salary of the municipal chief controller depends on the average wage in Slovakia and coefficient based on the population. So if you serve in the city where is 10,000 inhabitants, you have 196. It is a coefficient, and the average wage in Slovakia nowadays is 1,620. So it is the salary of the chief controller. If you are a chief controller in the smaller village, your salary is lower. On the next slide, there is the summary of the scope of control activities. So he audits the legality, efficiency, economy, and efficiency, revenues, expenditures, financial transactions, and so on. But I would like to emphasize that the chief controller at the local level, he also providing the audit according to the audit plan. This audit plan is approved by the member of the local parliament, and on the next slide you can see, and this audit plan submit once every 6 months, and also chief controller submit audit reports to the council, to the municipal council at its next meeting, and also submit an annual report on audit activities within 60 days. A few years ago, we have the new duties for the chief controller. They have to control or audit property transfer about more than 20,000 euro within 60 days after the end of the calendar year. Sometimes, according to our law, if the city make a decision that they have a lot of administrative or they need a more supervision, they can establish so-called office of the chief of controller. This office run the chief controller or manage the chief controller, but these people help him to provide the audit, provide professional, administrative, and organizational support. If we look on the next slide, it is the few words about the status of the regional chief controller or chief controller of the self-governing region. It is the same condition, but only in this, because it is a different law. We have one condition that this chief controller can't be a member of any political party during the office. On the next slide, is the same function which is incompatible with this position. Qualification. Next slide. I would like to emphasize that at this level we have the different requirements of qualifications, because if somebody would like to be a chief controller at the region or region level, he has to have finished the university degree in economic, law, or technical field. If you remember, at the chief controller at the local level, it's only the secondary level school finished. Election is the same like in the local level, but the next slide. But there is one more advantage, that if a chief controller is not re-elected, but at this time he has to receive 2 months severance. Termination of office is the same, and the salary there is a difference because the salary depends on the salary of the president of a region. So it is 70% of the president's salary. Scope of activities is the same. Duties and rules of activities is I can say the same. And according to law, each region or self-governing region has the office of the regional chief controller. So no, at the local level it may be, but here must be established the office of the chief controller. It means 8 offices here. And on the other side, I would like to say a few words. In 2024, the Supreme Audit Office of Slovakia conducted an analysis of the internal control system in Slovak cities and municipalities. So we have to, we would like to look at the municipalities, how internal control run, because we would like to check if the situation getting better or worse, because in 5 years earlier, we provide first analysis, similar analysis, and we concentrate on a few parts. I would like to emphasize a few of them. On the next slide, you can see one chart. On the next slide, yes. Next.
Yeah, I tried to change, but then it stopped sharing. Just a second.
Yes, that's okay. So the main point is that in Slovakia we have a problem, because we have in 2020 we have more than 215 municipalities without chief controllers. And for example, in 2024, when we done this audit, it was only 196. So this number was going down, but it is still big problem that we have the municipalities. There is no chief controllers. The question is why? Because people are not, for them is not interesting this position, or why? Then we concentrate, 23, yes. We look also on the 2 groups of the times, the jobs of the chief controllers. We called it some like micro workload and macro workload. Micro workload, it is such a chief controllers which has a lot of agreements and working for a lot of villages or cities, but not a full-time job, only part-time job, maybe 5%. And the second biggest number of the chief controller is such, we call it macro workload chief controllers, which has a lot of full-time jobs for many municipalities. You can see that macro workload in 2024, it was 866 chief controllers. We also in our analysis look at the public funds spent on the ensuring internal control system. In 2024, it was more than 40 million, and in 2024, it was approximately 19.5 million euros per year. If you look at the slide next, yes, so there is a back. Yes. So conclusion from the analysis: municipalities don't have the chief controllers, high proportion of the part-time chief controllers, high number of full-time chief controllers, and funding for the chief controllers and quality. So we can say that in 2,927 cities and municipalities in the Slovak Republic, nearly 7% of municipalities have no chief controller at all. More than 31% of municipalities have an elected chief controller working on such a part-time basis that they have particularly no time to perform proper, timely, and professional audit because they have a lot of jobs. And more than 31% of municipalities have elected chief controllers who are responsible for too many municipalities or have too heavy a workload to be able to perform and ensure the proper execution of audits. In our presentation, you can see the charts according to region. We have the 8 regions. So if we look at the Žilina region, we have 7 controllers who working for 51, for example, municipalities. Yes, so we call it like micro workload chief controllers. On the next slide, you can see the next slide. Yes, you can see the macro workload chief controllers. Where, if we look also for the example, Trenčín region, yes, you can see that we have 2 chief controllers who has more than 200% workload level. So it is impossible to provide internal audit correctly. On the previous slide, because I changed the yes back. Yes, here you can see that 91% has the municipality has the chief controller, 6.7% municipality are without chief controller, and 1.7 municipalities have the chief controller office. On the next slide, you can see the chart of the funds which spent on the chief controller's office and the total amount. You can see that it is a lot of money. And the question is what to do the next, because the situation is not very good, and we see, and according to this analysis, the internal control is not running good. And these days we in Slovakia discuss about the new law, about the new act is prepared regulating the legal status of the chief auditor of your municipality and the chief auditor of the self-governing region. So in one act, we put these 2 positions. Nowadays, we have in 2 different acts. We would like to put it in one position, in one act, and put under the similar requirements and conditions. So briefly, the method of electing of the chief auditors are unchanged, but the qualifications are changing very rapidly. At the municipality level, we would like to say that chief controller should have the first cycle university education or completed full secondary education at least 5 years of experience, and also professional competencies. At the regional level, completely second cycle university education or first cycle university education at least 5 years of experience, and also the professional competencies. And what does it mean, professional competencies? If we click on the next slide, there is the some description of these competencies. So it means that each chief controller or chief auditor have to will receive some certificate, so he will have to done some test, and this examination is aimed mainly on primarily verifying knowledge of this act and other legal regulation necessary for carrying out audit activities by the chief auditor. And also on the next at this slide, next slide, you can see that we limited the number of work. So if this law will be approved, the chief auditor of municipality may perform audit activities for maximum of 10 municipalities, not 20, 30, but only on maximum 10 municipalities. And also we have the sometimes problem of the scope of audit. If the chief controller can control the company established with the municipality, or a company where the municipality has a certain level of the shares of the interest, because sometimes it was the bigger question, and we put at the law that the chief controller can audit the legal entity in which the self-governing region or the region municipality has an ownership interest of at least 25%. Also, the task and change substitution. The big problem is substitution of the chief auditor, because as I told, the chief controller is elected by the local parliament, but it is only the one and for 6-year period. But sometimes we have and had the situations that chief controller have to go on the maternity leave or on a long-term sick leave, and for this period the city has no chief controller, and in this situation we try to put into our law the model how to deal with this situation. So you can read that if the chief auditor of the municipality of self-governing region is from work more than 2 months, the municipality and the self-region are to oblige to establish a temporary body to perform audit activities. And also in Slovakia we had the problem because we didn't have the central register of the chief controller of chief auditors, and now we think that this central register will be established and will be run by Ministry of the Interior. So that's all from Slovakia about the internal control at the local level. I would like to emphasize that we also, like our institution, we have some application. It calls MUMAP, and these applications is providing transparency information about the audits in each city, in each region, also how many funds these cities receive from the government, and so on and so on. If you would like, I can send a link to Monica, and you can check this MUMA, because it is a big tool for the transparency, and the people and the politician could check each region or each city where he lives, that how they are dealing with the budget, with the property, and with the EU funds. That's all from me. Thanks you for
Thank you very much, Mr. Mishkarin, for this very thorough presentation of the chief controller. It is a little bit difficult to understand sometimes because it's a specific institution in Slovakia, which a lot of, the internal supervisory system is local governments are supposed to have that. Some of the countries regulated. In some of the Western Balkan administrations, for example, it is not clear. But basically, we know that this internal control of local governments should be in place. But this Slovak system of internal control is not the internal control that you know. It's not really an employee per se. It is somebody who is elected by the local government to carry out an independent supervision. And it concerns administrative supervision as well. So basically, that is kind of this first preventive step in the local government of Slovakia before the other measures come in. The Slovak system is fourfold. So there are the state administration bodies, the inspections, the ministries, of course, the courts. And there is also one very specific regime, which is the role of the general prosecutor, who can also act in case there is a complaint from a citizen, from the council member, from anybody over local government's decision. Then the general prosecutor can also step in and make warning towards a local government. So there are two specific specificities in the Slovak system of administrative supervision of local governments. And there are these two, I would say, independent bodies which are used, which are not generally used in other countries. So this is what we were trying to describe. It will be described in the paper in detail as well, not in such a detail, but I very much thank for this detailed information on also what are maybe the challenges of the system, especially if you have a fragmented local government system. Because of the time, I would like to jump to the last presentation, so we have a little bit of time also to the Western Balkan administrations and colleagues to maybe say a few words. And I would like to thank to Sofia Avdejčíková from Sweden for taking her time and sharing this presentation on the Swedish case, which is also more or less, I think, relying more on prevention than coercion. Thank you, Sofia. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Monica. Thank you for inviting me. Let me know.
We can see the presentation perfectly.
Yeah, excellent. So I think that this presentation will be a good way to complement the
Maybe I will share the presentation, Sofia, because we are losing your.
Yeah, apologies. Yes, of course, please go ahead.
I will share your presentation, and then, it's here, and then maybe your signal will be better too.
Yes, please go ahead. Thank you. So this is just as an introduction, I think that this is a good complement to the other two perspectives, because as I understand now, we have been talking mostly about, well, first about the legal supervision of the local and regional governments, and now about more maybe of a financial oversight. What I want to focus on is the functional supervision. So basically the supervision of how the local governments perform the delegated authority, the delegated public service delivery. Swedish context, just a bit of a background. We have 290 municipalities and 21 regions, and we have a very extensive range of responsibilities of the local and regional governments. So about 50% of the total public expenditure actually is the local government service delivery. Education and childcare, elderly care, social services, it's mostly the mandate of municipalities, and health and medical care, public transportation, urban planning, and environmental infrastructure is mostly under the regions. And what you also see on the right side is the population of the Swedish municipalities. And you see that there is very big variations in the population density. And we will come back to this at the end, because it's a matter of municipal capacity to both perform these tasks and being held accountable for them. Next slide, please. So we have a distributed system of supervision of local governments. you have the parliament that pretty much sets the legal framework for what laws the municipalities and regions and the public service need to comply to. We have the national agencies that conduct mostly, I would say, sectoral supervision, and their role, sometimes their role is both inspection and guidance. And in some areas, you would have a ministry that is focused on the guidance, and you would have another that's focused on inspection. Like, for instance, we have when it comes to the school, the primary and secondary education, and also when it comes to the healthcare and welfare services. The county administrative boards are the regional governmental representation, and they are located in all of the regions, so there are 21 of them. And what they do mostly is that they help municipalities and regions to understand and make sense of all of the national steering. And also when the national steering maybe is a bit unclear, or maybe if there are the conflicts of different goals, then they also have to help to resolve this on the regional level. Yes, we can of course, we can proceed to the just in terms of auditors, we do have auditors at the municipal level, financial and performance audits. So that's just as much of the issue of the financial integrity as it is the issue of what the local governments do and the transparency towards the citizens. And the courts that provide the legal review and protection of individual rights, even though I would say that some of the national inspection agencies also protect individual rights in specific areas. So basically, if you go to the next slide, basically you see that there is a combination, and I would say also a balanced approach between the hard supervision and the soft governance. So on the one hand, you have this hard supervision ensuring legality and accountability, where you have inspections, legal reviews, you have sanctions and injunctions, audits and formal requirements. And then on the right hand, you have the guidelines and advice, benchmarking and open comparisons, peer learning and networks, dialogue and collaboration, and knowledge development. There is having the system that we have with most of the public services delivered and on the local and regional level, and also when you look at how the municipalities and regions are funded, they are funded pretty much through their own for the taxes that they collect. So the possibilities of the government to interfere is sometimes limited. So that's why we work a lot on the side of the knowledge production, on the side of benchmarking, on the side of jointly agreeing of what is the proper approach. However, when it comes to the areas where the government provides dedicated funding, like they would provide dedicated funding for some specific reforms, there, of course, the possibilities for oversight is bigger. Next slide. So this is very in a very simple manner, what the national supervision on the national functional supervision might look like. There is a legislation, if we take the area of schools, for instance, that would say what are the quality standards for the education, what are the standards for schools to operate, for the level of the level of education of the teachers. Even we don't have a law on the level of education. We have a law that they have to have a certain certificate, so that is regulated. And a law is well, actually, school is a very, very highly regulated area. Then you have the national guidance. You have an agency, and this is Skolverket, so it's a school agency that provides guidelines and support. And I would also say that they try to set the standard. What is the good primary and secondary education? So even beyond the formal right to provide guidelines, they would also just try to be a forum for to convening the competences and to agreeing on the common standards. And then you also have the Skolinspektionen, the school inspection, which is actually just the agency that is responsible of inspecting whether the formal requirements are met, and they are normally expected to only relate to the law and the other formal frameworks, but in practice they would also follow the guidelines of the school agency. In terms of the local implementation, so municipalities and regions, they have a lot of power to decide how to achieve the goals, but this power is different depending on what areas you are in. I can also add that when it comes to this, the area of primary, secondary education and healthcare, there is a political debate, a constant political debate in Sweden in terms of whether this is something that indeed should be performed by the municipalities and regions, or if it's something that should rather be performed and then coordinated by the national government. So there you would see both a lot of formal laws and a lot of guidance and a lot of controls from national government as an indirect way of trying to control politically this area, which they actually really shouldn't be doing. Supervisions are conducted in this case by agencies. I just checked before this meeting, and I can see that on the school area there are about 1,200 supervisions conducted at specific either at the municipality level or actually at specific school level to ensure how the schools are complying to the laws and regulations. And on the area of the welfare and healthcare, there we would have as many as 30,000 inspections, even though some of the inspections are very simple, that the authority requests some documents to be submitted, whilst other inspections are looking at the specific cases of potential misconduct. And also we have inspections that are about visiting specific facilities to inspect them physically. This inspection, the follow-up, is something that, of course, we hope generate learning and improvement, because they would also always receive feedback from them, but they could also result in sanctions and injunctions if the non-compliance is severe, or if there are certain number of occurrences of non-compliance, which leads to the adjustment of the implementation of the services. Now, I'm not sure whether we have exactly the same system as Slovakia, but this is the system of municipal audit in Sweden. And currently, that is also regulated in the law. The municipal audit is both the mandate and the responsibility of the municipalities themselves. So the audit function is a part of the municipal government, and the municipal council has the overarching responsibility to ensure that operations are effective, goal-oriented, and also subject to adequate internal control. So what happens is that municipal council appoints the elected auditors, and they are then representatives of the municipality and not the political parties. So they have to leave their political flag outside the door. They are independent in the audit and they report to municipal council, and they choose their own chair and set their own agenda, which is the Swedish way of balancing the local self-governance with still the idea of independence of auditors that is also, of course, regulated in the law. So if I would summarize how we approach the administrative control in supervision in Sweden, I would say there are three principles. The one principle is the local autonomy. That again, if you look at the regions and municipalities, they are free to decide how, for instance, the public services are to be provided. They are to be held accountable, but to the laws and regulations and to the obligatory guidance that is provided by, for instance, the school agency or the agency on the health and the welfare. And we still believe that the accountability is something that mainly should be provided on created on the local level. There is a level of high institutional trust and professional independent administration, which partly enables a less centralized control system. At least is what we have been seeing for the past maybe 20 or 30 years. Now with the elections coming up in September, it's always interesting about whether this will affect the way that we see the local self-governance and the way we will see what is the proper centralization and decentralization of different systems. But this is how it has developed over the years. And to ensure the accountability, we have the clear legal framework and we have the clear system of how different forms of supervisions, audits and legal reviews are performed. There is transparency and public scrutiny, so there is a lot of both mandatory and voluntary provision of information at the local and regional level. The organization that I represent, the associations or Association of Local and Regional Governments, we work a lot on both gathering, analyzing the data and helping municipalities and regions to make this data available at the local and the regional level, because indeed the citizens and the media are also actors that scrutinize the public sector. Let's proceed. And this is my last slide, just a bit on the current challenges. This is, of course, having a system where 50% of the public spending is on the local and regional level, the system where the local and regional level also exhibits a lot of control, a lot of agency on how these funds are spent, due to the funding mainly coming from their own taxation. That, of course, creates a number of challenges. And now thinking back at the map that I showed in the beginning, we have a significant discrepancy in the size of the municipalities. Like some of them are maybe about 2,000 or 3,000 people, some of them are over 1 million, and they still have the same responsibilities, provide the same services. So this requires a certain amount of control as well. And here you see that, for instance, complex regulation is something that makes it both difficult for them to comply, but also more difficult for the control functions to be able to hold them accountable for. This in turn increase the reporting burdens, which is a problem for the smaller municipalities, of course, because they don't have as much resources at the same time as we have the financial pressure in terms of budgets and demographic change that I think that you all also share. So just to finish my presentation, I would say that effective supervision is not only about control. I believe it's about enabling local governments to deliver better outcomes for citizens while maintaining trust, legality, and demographic accountability. And this is the balance we need to strike. Thank you very much, Monica.
Thank you very much, Sofia. That was a very, very full of information presentation. Thank you for presenting it. And I can see that there is probably some similarity with the Slovak system, at least when it comes to this internal auditor, being an elected one. And from my point of view, we mentioned excessive control in the beginning of this whole session. What was interesting that you said those numbers about control in education and in social welfare. I cannot say whether it's too much because, as you said, it is also tied to the percentage of expenditures, local government expenditure in total government expenditure, I suppose. But maybe, being from the local government association, is it seen or has it been kind of seen as excessive from local governments, or is it something that is well established and supervision has become part of the local government system as it is?
Well, it is something that indeed is seen as excessive, I would say. And because, one part of it is that obviously it's regulated by the law, what kind of supervision is conducted on the local level. But then, as we say in Sweden, the laws don't implement themselves. So it's about what people actually do with them and how much information they require, how much time this requires, so that this should all be a subject for discussion, we think. We also have specific examples for when the agency responsible for supervision of the welfare and healthcare sector requested huge amounts of information in the first months of the corona pandemic. So there were people working full time just to provide them with the information instead of putting this time elsewhere. So it's indeed a discussion, yeah.
Yes, thank you. And you mentioned actually a very important part that supervision sometimes is not a problem because of supervision itself, but because of the burden of work for local governments, the balance between how much burden it is for local governments themselves when they actually struggle with carrying out all the competencies. I think that's also a point. But the very important closure that you gave is that supervision should not be, and we don't use the word control, I think directly, exactly due to the fact that we don't perceive administrative supervision or shouldn't perceive as something negative or sanction-based coercive, but it is more to improve local government work and to improve as you wrote, the outcomes of local government services and to improve the quality. And I think this is where supervision should be heading towards. It's not to find the problems, but to help local governments improve their functioning. And before we close, I would like to thank again for all the speakers to be here and to provide these examples. And I also wanted to ask colleagues from the Western Balkan administrations that if you would like to share your experience with supervisions, with what you do. I know colleagues from Kosovo have a very interesting system set up, which is kind of well functioning, also connected with data. So maybe if Florim or Siba would like to say a few words.
Yes, I would like.
And Amina too. So maybe we give floor to Amina, as the lady.
Very much.
Sure.
Thank you, Florim. Amina?
Dear Monica, you and I, we had our email conversation when you had some questions. Because I analyzed the draft you sent us, I gave you those questions. So if all of you don't mind, I would just like to give a few words from our Federal Ministry of Justice about this subject, about this meeting. First of all, let me introduce myself accordingly. My name is Amina Tadic. I am a Minister Advisor for Local Self-Government, and can you all see me? Okay, now you can. For local self-government and election law. Once again, good morning. Dear colleagues, representatives of SIGMA and Council of Europe, it's my pleasure to briefly present the perspective of Federal Ministry of Justice of the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina regarding the administrative supervision of local governments. From the standpoint of our ministry competence, administrative supervision is primarily aimed at ensuring legality, legal certainty, and accountability, and the proper implementation of law within the system of local self-government. The Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina recognized the importance of principles established by European Charter of Local Self-Government, particularly legality, proportionality, and the respect for local autonomy. Within our system, supervision should not be viewed only as corrective mechanism, but also as form of professional guidance, cooperation, and institutional support for local authorities. One important aspect of good practice in the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina is a continuous coordination between federal, cantonal, and local levels of governments, which is especially important considering our complex constitutional structure, and very, very hard, may I say. But somehow we manage it. In addition, the Federal Ministry of Justice, together with the Public Administration Institute, continuously work on improving public administration, strengthening professional capacities, harmonizing administrative practices, and promoting transparency and good government principles. And at the end, even though we have some challenges still remain, we firmly believe that continuous dialogue, exchange of expertise, and alignments with European standards are key elements for further strengthening, effect, and accountable local self-government. Thank you very much for your attention. I had a very pleasant meeting, but unfortunately I am already late for another one. So if you all don't mind,
Thank you, Mina. Yes, thank you very much for the input as well. And thank you. Same to you. And Florim, the floor is yours, please.
Okay. First of all, let me just present myself very quick, because I know we are in the end. Therefore, my name is Florim Arifi. I represent the government of Kosovo, more exactly the MLJ. Monica, thank you for organizing this, all your team and everybody, and all the presenters who did excellent job presenting their cases regarding the experience in their countries. As you've seen from the presentation from Mr. Nicholas, if I'm not mistaken the name, I'm not going to go in detail regarding the Kosovo process and the legal procedure, how we are established and how we work, because I think the document itself presents it very good. So therefore, from our point of view as an MLJ, I think the process regarding the monitoring, as we like it to call it, we don't call it supervising, we call it the monitoring process, consultation process, and everything else until we have the adaptation of these acts within the municipalities. Our core duties derive from our constitution and the law of local self-governance. We have 38 municipalities that we consultate and we talk and we conversate and we have direct conversation with them during the process when they have usually let's say these assembly meetings and when they have these issues or when they adopt their acts. Therefore, we as an MLJ, we try always not to interfere, and of course that's our obligation within the constitution, not to interfere with the authority of the municipalities. Of course, we are all here professional, and we understand this. This is not an easy subject to maintain because there's always political agenda within both sides, and of course it's very hard for administration to be objective, and we try to do our job in a point where we don't let nobody interfere within the, let's say, within the law. until now, it's been working pretty good. Of course, there's always need for change, but for us to change this process is very hard because it constitutes a legal obligation with the minorities and etc., which I don't think it's very relevant right now to mention here, not to take your time. But in general, as you mentioned here in the report also, and which is stipulated over there, we have 3 institutions who, let's say, monitor the authorities of a local level. We have MLJ, we have National Audit Office, and we have the Ministry of Finance. Ministry of Finance, of course, usually mainly focus on the finance, whereas the National Audit focus on everything, what pretty much does the municipality itself as an institution. We, as a ministry, we are focused, of course, at the acts that the municipalities do approve. There's a procedure that we follow up, which is very well explained on the document as I read it before. So therefore, I think in principle, Monica, we do have a good relationship regarding the municipality and central level. Of course, we have disputes within ourselves. We don't have that many cases that we have had to take them to the court, which is the last, let's say, resolving institution, we will call it. We try to communicate and have between ourselves the intermediate conversation that doesn't lead all the way to there. But until now, we had only few cases which involved most of the time the public property of the municipalities. That's kind of a hot topic for the municipalities on the central level. Other than that, I think it's been working pretty good. And as I saw it in a report that was presented by Mr. Nicholas, if I'm not mistaken, again, the name, I apologize. We see Kosovo that has fulfilled almost everything in regarding the charter. So I fully agree. And I don't know if you have any questions. Yes, I'm here. I hope I was not being too fast, but I try to be concise so I don't take the time.
Perfect. Thank you very much for this very short but very summarized information on Kosovo supervisory system. And I think once you read the report, you see that exactly what you said, that we reformed the process, and it seems that there is a well-functioning system which you are trying to still improve, and a lot of it is also relying on data and information sharing between local governments. And there are only last resort, as you said, when it is necessary. And when you see what Nikos presented, we kind of developed this supervision escalation ladder, where we introduce all these mechanisms which can be used in supervision, of course. But we also emphasize that it is important to rely more on recommendations, on kind of guiding, on training, and on preventive action, and not coercive and sanctions.
Also, if I can add, Monica, because I forgot, another factor which I think will be improving the process itself is the digitalization of the process itself. What that means is the monitoring now it's been actually a long time ago monitored, but now we can have at the same time transcription of the whole process itself within minutes. So anybody who is interested from open party, let's say from civil society or any newspaper who wants to be informed, now they can be informed in seconds and minutes what is being approved. So therefore, we have full monitoring from the civil society and also the ministry itself. So I think we have more objective point of view regarding the adaptation of these acts within the municipalities and their discussions, which at the end of the day is the core of existence of the municipality, because at the end of the day, that's what they are, to discuss and in the end to approve the laws which try to make better life for citizens, for our country, for all of us. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you. And this is exactly one of our recommendations: digitalization and more transparency, because supervision is there in many countries, but the information is not shared. So basically, sharing is important, as Sofia mentioned, to share knowledge and for others to learn or themselves to learn. So if there are cases, the municipalities don't make the same mistakes, but it's also important because it's a tool for accountability, to share what is going on there and to present it. So basically, supervisions, we have to get away from these internal documents and publish as much as possible, which is, of course, in line with the law. So local governments learn from each other, and the supervision process is also kind of the same. The procedure is the same. But before I finish, I can see that there is a hand up. So please, the ministry, I cannot see. oh, yes, Jordi, please, can I pass the floor to you?
Pozdrav Monika, iz Ministarstva uprave i lokalne samouprave.
Hello, from the Ministry of Local Government. I'm Deputy Minister, and I'm joined by my colleagues. I won't introduce them separately. I just wanted to say briefly about the local governance system and supervision system in the Republic of Srpska. We just wanted to briefly present the way our system functions. The Ministry of Governance and Local Self-Governance is divided in two parts. In the governance department, we have an administrative inspectorate carrying out supervision of legality of acts of different government units. We also have the local governance department in charge of legal framework, and we also supervise the way that local self-government units implement this framework. We have a set of laws governing the work of local governments. The law on local self-government is the umbrella law. We have 64 LSG units. Some are municipalities, some are cities. We make that kind of distinction. However, their responsibilities are the same. How do we carry out the supervision activities? Of course, we do preventive, we carry out preventive measures. This means that we give our opinions. Sometimes these opinions are binding, sometimes they are not. On opinions on the acts and adopted and the activities carried out by local governments. Also, citizens and the local councillors are also allowed to initiate supervision over the acts adopted by LSG units. Our ministry, in that respect, tries to intervene and tries to solve the issue without going into, carrying out any more detailed interventions. We are also allowed to approach court to prevent certain decisions from being implemented. Also, our ministry has been continuously trying to improve the relevant legal framework. We have been constantly considering what can be done to improve the supervision system by way of digitalization efforts. Also, administrative inspectorate can act upon initiative or request of a citizen or other of an entity to check whether certain activities and acts have been lawfully adopted or carried out. As you know, there are also other ministries that supervise the work of municipalities relating to the responsibilities that the municipalities have been delegated. For instance, spatial planning ministry does that in the area of spatial planning and urban planning. Also, other ministries are competent for other types of activities. And that's as far as our system is concerned. Of course, there's always room for improvement. I just want to check if my colleagues wanted to have anything to add. I just wanted to greet you all, to thank you for this highly informative session. This was very useful. We could hear presentations from 3 countries. Perhaps I should highlight that our system is most similar to the one in Lithuania. Our supervision is restricted to the acts adopted by local self-government units. So, in other words, it is exclusively related to the local self-government units. You know that we have the executive body, the mayor, and the representative body, the local assembly. As far as the supervision over the education system or healthcare system, as we were able to see in the Swedish presentation, that falls outside of our scope of supervision. There is a separate organization at the level of our republic that is in charge. That's the Inspectorate of the Republic of Srpska. The administrative supervision work is only related to the work of bodies of local self-government units. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this information. And I would also like to thank to colleagues, because I know it's been a long session, to stay with us for long and also share your experience and how you see it. There are a few more country examples described more in detail in the paper, which will come up. And of course, I will share it with you. As always, I hope it will be some kind of inspiration as well, maybe in your next steps toward a more preventive supervision. And what I would like to say is that we are preparing an event. Once the paper is finalized and published, we would like to organize a regional event for all the Western Balkan administrations representatives to discuss these issues and maybe talk a little bit more about where improvements can be made. The event will be sometime in the autumn, September or October, hopefully. And we are also discussing with organizing with NALAS, with our colleagues, so maybe to bring in more topics. Again, thank you to the speakers for the presentations, and I will ask them in person, but perhaps we can share the presentations with you, as well as if anybody's interested in the recording. The meeting was recorded, so we can share that with you in case you're interested. I will not be sending it to everybody, but if there is interest, please let me know, so you can share it with other colleagues from other institutions, because I know supervision is very much in other parts, ministries and institutions as well. So this is from my side. I know this is a little bit difficult to present and discuss when it's an online seminar, so I hope we will meet in person very soon, in a few months, and we can talk about this in person. Please, if you would be so kind, and in the agenda there was a link for a survey. If you would be so kind, click on it and fill it out. It would be very helpful for us also to know where to improve these online seminars. Thank you again for the participation. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me as well. My email address is in the agenda. And if you are also interested in the study, in the paper, please drop me an email so I can include you in the email mailing list and send